Hello and good afternoon. How are you all today? So today we're talking about what is the difference between conditioning exercises and warm-up exercises. This is quite an interesting question, and it came up with one of my workshops, and I've heard it before. A lot of people want to know about warm-up exercises and conditioning exercises. What's the difference? So before we get into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Angela Hearn. I'm the owner and founder of the Biokinetic K9. And I'm loving what I'm doing. I'm doing fitness and conditioning for sports dogs. And I hope I can help you out today. So if you are enjoying the lives, please share it. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know you're around. So let's get going. Also, let me know where you're watching from. That's quite interesting. So what is the difference? Is there a difference between conditioning exercises and warm-up exercises? Yes, actually there is. And it's quite an interesting difference. So let me get going. First thing, before we even go into the differences will become much more clear if you know what your goal is for your workout. Let me go here. Yes, what is the goal of your workout? It's a huge thing, and that will determine your exercises and what you're trying to achieve. So when it comes to goals of the workouts for conditioning or for warm-ups, you need to know about what is happening with your dog. Is it whatever you're doing, is it safe for the age of your dog, etc.? What's your goals? Are you doing this for sport? Are you doing this for weight loss? Are you doing this just to make your dog a little bit healthier when you go on hikes, etc.? What is your goal? So you need to look at your dog, like age and fitness condition, and what the sport is. It a intense sport? Is it an easygoing sport? Because this will determine your exercise type. If it comes to really, really fit dogs, one fit dog's warm-up routine would be another mediocre, average dog's training regime. So depending on the fitness levels of your dogs, that alone, that will change your warm-up and your conditioning exercises altogether. Bob, hello! Awesome that you're here. Super. So when you're looking at your conditioning, you are going to be looking at, like I said, one dog's warm-up will be another dog's training or conditioning program, depending on where that dog is in their fitness level, etc. In your conditioning, you'll be looking at particular aspects of training, like a strength training routine, a flexibility enhancement routine. Are you doing a cardio routine? Are you doing a proprioceptive or balance routine? All of those things will come into play when you are putting your exercises together. So first thing you need to find out now, what is your goals? Do you have a goal for your dog? This is really important. Many people, if you don't have a goal, you're a little bit stuck and you're not too sure where to go. So set up your goal and then you've got direction. So what is the first difference between a warm-up exercise and a conditioning exercise? Well, number one would be then the intensity. A warm-up exercise is we're not looking for full intensity of working that muscle. We just want to get it moving. We don't want to overload the muscle at all, because that has to happen, and your dog needs all the energy for its sport, for whatever competition or whatever workout you are about to enter. So even if you are going to go and do some training, or you are attending a seminar, or you're entering a trial, your warm-up is not going to be hugely intensive. It's going to be a low drive movement exercise. All you're trying to do is warm that area up. So if I move my hands like this and I just a little bit, my hand's going to start to warm up. If I work them really hard, my fingers are going to be tired, and it's going to be too tired to do much work. Same thing with your warm-up. So you're not wanting to go full intensity. Conditioning, however, if you are going and you're doing a conditioning type of sport, you are trying to push your dog. You are trying to progress your dog. So there's two things that's happening. You're trying to perfect the movement so that you engage in muscles. But in that perfecting of the movement, say, no, the dog's got it. You need to progress. So you are going to be overloading the muscle. You want to really work that muscle because you're trying to make it stronger, or you're trying to improve the flexibility of that muscle, or you're trying to improve the endurance of that muscle. None of those things are going to be coming into play when you're doing a warm-up exercise. So immediately the intensity of the exercise is going to differ. So if you are just doing a warm-up, one of the exercises is a sit to stand. As a warm-up exercise, it's going to be very different to a sit to stand in your conditioning exercise, just by way of intensity that you're going to be using those movements to get your dog ready for either trial or for that conditioning setup that you set up for that day. So intensity plays a big part. Then we are going to look at the duration. Definitely duration is going to play a part when it comes to warm-up or conditioning exercise. In your warm-up, you just want to do a warm-up that's going to be 5, maximum 15 minutes long. That's your entire warm-up, because you want to conserve your dog's energy for your training. You want to conserve your dog's energy for the trial. You just want to warm up the body. So duration plays a huge part. Whereas in conditioning, not only are you looking at a particular intensity, but you're also going to be seeing, depending on where you are in your conditioning, you want to see, how do I push this dog? How do I overload that muscle safely? And how many repetitions, how long do I do this exercise for? Do I do it for 3 sets of 8? Do I do 3 sets of 5 because it's more difficult? Whereas a warm-up, no more than 2 sets of 3 to 5. That's it. So you may be doing the same movement, but the duration is going to be completely different. So in conditioning, you are looking to overload, you're looking to progress, depending on where you are with your dog. So the exercise may be similar, but your focus is very, very different. You don't want to do an exercise that is going to take out too much energy from your dog so that he's got nothing left for the trial. But you do want to warm up the muscles so that they are energized and that you are able to actually now go and trial and give everything in there. If your dog is not warmed up enough, they can't give 100%. It's too dangerous for the body. If I have to get up from here now and just run, I can't run at full speed. My time will be a lot slower than if I was just ever so slightly warmed up. If I was going to be doing a squat exercise, my squat is not going to be as powerful on the first 2 or 3 repetitions as if my body was warmed up. So definitely the duration, you want to have your warm-up duration, not so much that your dog gets tired, but just enough so that the muscle is working fluidly. Whereas in conditioning, you're working that muscle to overload. You're either going to make the muscle tired, or you're going to make it so pumped that it can't do the next one safely. That's where your difference in your duration is with your exercises for warm-up or conditioning. And then you want to look at, and this is a really important one, and this is where you put conditioning, this is where your conditioning becomes really important. Form and technique. So in conditioning, when you're doing a particular exercise, you're looking at form and technique. What muscles are being used by your dog? Are these the muscles that the dog needs to work? Does your dog need to have more strength in this muscle area of its body for the sport that it's doing, or this area of its body because of its structure? There are underlying weaknesses because of structure. Nobody wants to learn about a weakness in their dog, but we all have it. Nobody is born perfect, not humans, not dogs. And we look at our sport and we look at our dog and we see what is lacking in our dog in order to compete in a sport better. So we look at our dog and we look at how and where their weaknesses lie. And then when we do the exercises, our exercises are on the form and technique in order to strengthen those weak areas. That's what you want. So form and technique when it comes to conditioning exercises is hugely important. And this becomes much more important if you are entering into sport and you want to compete with your dog, especially if you're going to higher levels. If you're just doing a bit of exercise and hiking for fun, form and technique is not, I will always say it's important, but it's not a huge priority where you have to be particular. But if you are doing sport, it takes your training that much to that next level. You just go a little bit more, because when you're looking at form of the movement of the muscle and the form of that your dog executes that movement in, you are then engaging the proper muscles for your dog to perform an exercise. And quite interestingly, I had this discussion this morning just with humans. So I was speaking about a person doing curls, and they were doing curls and they're saying, oh, I think I need to have a heavier weight because I can do this. And the person next to him, they were both having the same weight. And the person next to him looked at him and said, that's impossible, because after my workout, my muscles are absolutely finished. And he says, no, I think I need a heavier weight. And then this person said to him, okay, just do this curl like this, but make sure you don't rock your shoulder. Make sure you hold your waist and your core tight, and then do the movement and bring your arm all the way up. Don't just stop here, bring it all the way up and then control it down. And the guy did that movement with the same weight that he was using, and his muscles were finished. So when it comes to form and technique, you are using a lot more muscle just to control the body and hold the body so that the bicep can actually work. So just through form and technique, there's a much more muscles being engaged in performing an exercise. And if your dog knows about the correct form of executing an exercise, more muscles are being engaged. There's a lot more control happening in the body, and that becomes muscle memory. And that takes you places, because powered muscle memory is just awesome. So when you're doing your warm-up, that muscle memory just kicks in. So instead, when you're just sitting and standing your dog, instead of just the quads working quickly, the whole body and the muscle memory of the dog starts to engage in your small warm-up that you're going to be doing pre-trial. And so much more of the body gets warmed up quicker. So using muscle memory, the body is able to engage more muscle in the execution of an exercise, becomes stronger because more muscle is being worked correctly, but a lot more of the stabilizer muscles are being engaged when they should be engaged in order to execute the movement. Just like somebody doing curls now, to have that big weight in front of them and to control without dipping the shoulder, they have to stabilize the back of the shoulder and scapula into the back and into the spine, and you're working biceps. And then you have to hold your entire core and your stomach and your back and your hips steady, and you have to plant your feet onto the ground steady with a slightly bent knee so that you can engage those muscles so that your whole body doesn't rock when you are curling a weight. So a lot more of the body is being engaged, and all of those stabilizer muscles are being worked. And so you become much fitter and stronger in your entirety while you're just exercising a bicep curl. That's the bonus, without having to have this huge increase in weight and then put bigger weights on your arms and swing your body much more so that you can curl a heavier weight. You can get a better body sculpting, body muscular technique just by execution correctly. The same thing happens with the dogs, and that's what's so awesome. You don't need big weights with the dogs in order to improve their muscle strength and their muscle use and their movements in their body, because their body now knows through the conditioning that you're doing, that transfers in your training, it transfers in your trial work, and it transfers in your warm-ups. So form and technique polishes up your warm-ups, and they become a much more holistic exercise when you're doing simple exercises for your warm-ups. And of course, when it comes to warm-ups, you need to do exercises that are equipment-free, because there's not many times that you can go to a trial and carry a truckload of equipment just to warm your dog up. So you are adjusting all your exercises to be equipment-free, but when it comes to conditioning, you use certain pieces of equipment to engage and to make those muscles work harder and stronger as you try and overload them and improve their condition for your dog, so that your dog has a more balanced and stronger body. So that is your basic differences in conditioning exercises and warm-up exercises. So when it comes to warm-ups, even if you don't do conditioning, even if you are not doing any major sport, before you go out there and you put your dogs in the car and you're going up the field, you're going to take them for a run, instead of throwing that ball, that checkered ball 50 times, because it's always 50 times, just warm them up a little bit first, and you're going to avoid huge injuries. So I know with Dr. Canap, they are saying that proper warm-ups can reduce injury by over 25%. So if you are just doing some form of warm-up, instead of just running from the car, from the crate, diving full on into training, just do some form of warm-up where you're not using the entire body, you're getting the full range of movement in the joints, and the muscles are just being warmed up before you do any intensive work. All your injury risk comes way down by over 25%. Some warm-up is better than no warm-up. So please remember to warm up your dogs so that you can take them much further in your sport. I hope that's helped you. Just as an ad, we've had an awesomely successful canine athlete workshop, and that has all been uploaded. So if anybody missed the live, we do have the recording, and if you want to go and watch it afterwards, you're most welcome. I'm going to be putting the link for you to do that in the chat box afterwards. So please remember, there is a difference between warm-ups and conditioning. The difference is the form and then technique that you do in conditioning. It does automatically transfer into your warm-up through muscle memory, which is just awesome. Just awesome. Your duration time, you don't want your warm-up to be too long, because you don't want to take all the energy out of that muscle. So your duration time for conditioning is going to be a little bit more than your duration time for your warm-up. And of course, the intensity, really important. You don't want to have major intense muscle workout in your warm-up, because you want to save that energy for your trial. But you do want to have intense workouts when it comes to conditioning, so that you can teach the muscle to overload and to make that muscle stronger and work more efficiently. You want to take that muscle and do more for longer with that muscle when it comes to conditioning. So I hope that has helped you out. And always remember, your conditioning and your warm-up all depends on the goal of what you want with your dog, and your age of your dog, and the fitness level of your dog. So have awesome training sessions. Have a good weekend, and I will see you again next week. If you liked and you've learned something from this, give me a thumbs up and share. Okay, everybody, let me put up my information here for you. Put that down, and I'll put this up. And there you go. I'm going to say, remember, give me a like if you like it, and if you think somebody can learn from this. And I will see you next time. Let me switch this off, and let me say cheers.